Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's great to have almost 100 people here virtually this morning for the first of our always very useful, relevant, and exciting Tompkins Mahopac Bank Power Breakfast. And today's topic, we call it the 3 S's, sustain, strengthen, and succeed. And the operational word here is really succeed. And to succeed, we know that businesses have had to pivot. So today we're going to be talking about, with our panel of experts, the need to pivot, business lessons from COVID to sustain, strengthen, and succeed. We can't do these events without the support of our sponsors. And it's my pleasure to introduce Larry Gore, the Senior Vice President and Senior Wealth Advisor for Tompkins Mahopac Bank. Larry?
Thank you, Marcia, and good morning, everybody. I'm delighted to represent Tompkins to kick off this morning's Business Council virtual meeting. Like many of you, we've become experts in communicating through Zoom, WebEx, Teams, and other video sites to keep up with clients, colleagues, and with industry peers in events such as this. I am Larry Gore, Senior Vice President with Tompkins Financial Advisors, the wealth management division of the bank. Most of you who regularly attend these sessions have heard from Dave D'Amelio or Matt Farrell. And whether you hear from Dave, Matt, myself, or any of our colleagues, you'll hear that our objective within Tompkins is for all our colleagues to work across the bank to best support all our clients' needs and to make sure they're aware of all the bank's resources, whether it involves branch banking, treasury management, small business, commercial lending, or wealth management. Our wealth management team works with many of our commercial clients, business owners and their entities, real estate firms and their principals, executives, family individuals, and not-for-profits. It's an integrated approach that we believe is a differentiator as we work with our clients. Within Tompkins Financial Advisors, our consultative approach includes working with our clients on financial planning, investment management, providing retirement planning and platforms, and providing guidance on trust and estate issues, given our role as trustee and executor. We manage and administer about $4 billion on behalf of our clients, whether as agent or as our role as fiduciary, most often providing comprehensive advice. At Tompkins, we've collectively been and continue to be open for business during this challenging environment, supporting our existing clients with their evolving bank needs, whether involving PPP loans, another round starts today, or new credit facilities for their business, as well as new client opportunities. During periods of economic and business volatility, Tompkins has always been there for their clients, and that reputation supports our continued growth during these challenging periods of time. Within Tompkins Financial Advisors, we have an advice-driven philosophy. In the last year, we have spent a lot of time confirming and reconfirming client asset allocations given market volatility, developing financial plans for our clients, reviewing and implementing 401k and other retirement strategies, and providing guidance on trust and estate planning. As I mentioned, it's an integrated approach. As it relates to this morning's introductory comments, it made me think about Tompkins' corporate mission statement and some of our core values. 2 of those core values include commitment to the client, which I've already mentioned, and commitment to the community. Similar to members of the Business Council of Westchester, many of our employees volunteer their time to the many events during the year within the Westchester community, and the bank continues to use its foundation to support our communities. On behalf of Tompkins, thank you for joining us this morning. We look forward to this morning's discussion. Marcia, I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, Larry. And we all know that in the past year, our personal finances, our business finances have required us to take a harder look. And I can think of no other team but Tompkins that really takes care of their clients in such a wonderful, wonderful way. So thank you to Tompkins Mahopac Bank for every aspect of business and personal finance that you help us manage. We really, really value you. So I'm going to spend just a few minutes introducing the panel because I want you to know who is presenting to you today and encourage you to use the chat box or the Q&A if you have any questions or comments, which we will save till the end. So let me start with Donville Collins, who is CEO and president of VCast. And fun fact about Donville, at age 14, he became the youngest certified TV producer at his local TV network, BronxNet, and has since garnered over 20 years production experience with some of the most well-known commercial brands and nonprofit organizations, including the Business Council of Westchester. We are proud to be a client and supporter of VCast. Thank you, Donville.
Thanks, Marcia.
Debbie Fay, founder and president of Bespeak Presentation Solutions. Bespeak has provided presentations and public speaking coaching, training, and consultant to businesses worldwide since 2006. Debbie helps her clients present themselves with confidence, conviction, and clarity, delivering presentations that get heard and get results. And she is a sought-after speaker and contributing author to Forbes.com and the Huffington Post. Debbie, I've listened to you and I've adjusted some of my presentation skills. I hope you're proud of me, especially on Zoom. So thank you. Sharice Jervis-Hill, CEO and founder, Events to Remember. Sharice has over 2 decades of event management and promotion experience. She is an accomplished event producer and publicist with drive, vision, and fresh ideas. She founded Events to Remember in 2004. She's a MWBE full-service virtual and live event management and public relations firm, specializing in conceptualizing, organizing, managing, marketing, and publicizing live, hybrid, and virtual events, and experiences for corporations, agencies, and not-for-profits. She works with municipalities and entrepreneurs to help them tell their story through mission-driven events and public relations campaigns. I've been watching what Sharice has done and eager for her to share with you her latest phone call she received just last week. Welcome, Sharice.
Thank you,
Charlotte Osman is Osman. Charlotte, help me here. Osman is the Chief Executive Officer of the Mental Health Association of Westchester. As CEO, Charlotte is responsible for the overall leadership and management of the organization, corporate development, business operations, and strategy. Special areas of interest include crisis intervention, integration of medical and behavioral health, value-based reimbursement, and telehealth. And we all know that during this time, especially, mental health is so very, very important and very much needed. And we are so fortunate in Westchester to have the Mental Health Association, who is there leading the way. So Charlotte, welcome. And Andy Stoppelman, co-founder and CEO of Red Oak Transportation. Andy, along with his brother Ed Stoppelman, started Red Oak in 1989 with 1 vehicle. They now operate 51 vehicles with service not only in the tri-state area, but across the country and around the world. Since its inception, Andy has worked to grow Red Oak Transportation into one of Westchester's largest limousine services by introducing a highly professional approach to the business. Red Oak is our partner at the BCW. When we have live events, they take us to Albany. They shuttle people to our trade show. They do so much for us. And I'm very, very proud to be a personal Red Oak customer anytime I need services. So welcome, everybody. Welcome to you all. So I'm going to start with a question, and Debbie, I'm gonna give this one. I'm gonna ask you to start, but I'm gonna ask everybody to answer. So what pivots, changes have you made that have turned out to be fantastic silver linings. We're jumping right in here. We're being positive today.
Let's see. So a few silver linings, I would say, in the pivot is I pivoted by helping people present remotely. I'm a presentations coach and consultant. And as we know, we're all presenting remotely now, whereas pre-COVID, we may have been presenting remotely or in a hybrid way, but for the most part, particularly for an important pitch presentation or pitching at or presenting at a conference, you were presenting live and in person. So my pivot has been not only coaching and consulting people how to present remotely, but also presenting remotely, obviously myself. And a huge silver lining in that is the ability to reach hundreds of people. Where if you think about it, this is really something that's available to all of us, where before the pandemic, we really were driving, flying to present. Now we're presenting from our homes or our offices to people anywhere that they have access to the internet. So a huge silver lining for me in this is being able to expose myself and my ideas and help and reach out to hundreds, maybe thousands of people at this point.
Yeah. You know, it's really interesting because we're finding also at the BCW that we frankly are getting more involvement in this Zoom virtual reality than we did in person. It's certainly different. It's not replacing in person. Don't want anyone to misinterpret that. And we've also been able to reach beyond Westchester because we have many interesting programs. And we have found that some of our members who moved elsewhere have reconnected with us because they know this is a really valuable network and business opportunity, and they've come back. So I hear you. So thank you. Andy, what about you? What about at Red Oak? Pivots, changes that have been fantastic.
Absolutely. Red Oak has been, since its inception, an executive ground transportation company, just taking people from point A to point B, wherever that may be. So we've really had to, as the pandemic took effect and as the world shut down, we had to pivot from that ground transportation company to more of a logistics coordinator. We don't just move people. We now move, we shuttle nurses and doctors to medical facilities when Metro North shut down. We really had to analyze industry and see how they were impacted and how we were able to help.
So it's really interesting because you really redefined your business.
100%.
You redefined your business. And I want to come back to that later because I want to think about that process and how one goes about redefining their business. That takes a lot of guts, it takes a lot of vision, and it takes moving out of your comfort zone.
Very much so.
Charlotte, what about at the Mental Health Association? Any what kind of silver linings have you had?
Well, I'm a big believer in innovation, and when I came to the agency a few years ago, we started a journey of implementing technology across the agency. And one of the big pieces of innovation we had was telehealth. And unfortunately, telehealth didn't take much hold, mostly because it was not supported by New York State regulation. So reimbursement and the ability to implement it was really held back in that way. But because of the changes, temporary as they may be, we were able to, in a matter of days, pivot from delivering services in person to 95% of our clients to delivering 95% of our services virtually via telehealth. And so that had a number of very positive effects for our clientele. Many of our folks have barriers to getting to appointments, whether they be transportation, childcare, getting time off from work, just accessing the outdoors because they may have anxiety or conditions that make it difficult for them to come into a bricks and mortar clinic. So being able to see us remotely has dramatically increased our show rates, meaning we lose less revenue and people have more consistent care. It has really been transformative both for our clients and for our staff. So those changes that we've been really championing for so many years finally were pushed into action as the pandemic went into effect.
It's absolutely fascinating to me. I never really thought about organizations like yours that deal with government regulations, and the fact that the pandemic has broken through some of those regulations that, frankly, a lot of advocacy has gone into in the past. And thankful to hear that the government was able to move on this in a very, very positive way. Just for curiosity, just let people know a little bit about MHA. How many people do you serve? How large is your organization?
Well, typically we've been delivering over 10,000 services or serving 10,000 unique individuals. But in the past year, that has really skyrocketed. We've seen at least a 20% increase in demand for services, and we've really expanded our clientele. I'm sure we'll talk more about that.
Yeah, let's come back to that. Donville, how has this become a fantastic silver lining for you at VCAS?
Yeah, so for us, it's been the pivot for us is how it's been interesting is because what we're doing from a production perspective and providing a high quality virtual event production pivot is it's expanded our clientele, really. A lot of what we did before, especially when we were primarily focusing on video production, was still mostly Northeast clients and services that we're delivering on. And there will be some things across different states, but not as much. When we pivoted and really made virtual event production our core service back in March, it really there's very few people that are doing it, or very few companies rather, that are doing it well across the country. And we knew that early on. I remember initially when we had the team meetings internally, and I said, and at that time too, our team is really resilient. They really stuck on and really believed in in the vision that I had and what was possible, even though we lost all of our clients at the time. And they really believed in what we were talking about, what I was telling them. And I said, in a few months, we're going to be busier than ever. We're going to be doing events across the country from here. And it seemed ridiculous at the time, but seeing it happen after a while, them saying like, I'm overwhelmed, overworked, and I'm like, I don't want you to be overwhelmed, but at the same time, this is exactly what I said would happen. Right. And I said, we're going to add more people to the team so that you're not doing this much work, and all of that. So overall, it's great, and to see that that things can turn around. But I would definitely, my appreciation is definitely the scope or scale of the work that we're doing, and seeing that something that we've always done, even though it's virtual and it's production. It's not new to us. It was always there, but it's just the way how we sort of rebranded and pivoted it and put the message out there in a way that seemed like solving a new problem, but it's really a delivery of how we do it. It's not new at all. So yeah, that's our appreciation of how things have changed.
So it's interesting because you didn't redefine your whole business, but you rebranded how you communicated about your business, it sounds like.
Exactly.
Interesting. Charisse, you did a little bit of both, I think. So what kind of silver linings have you experienced when you pivoted?
So yes, Marcia, definitely. I would say both. On the PR side, we really have helped clients. Before, it was more about getting clients' butts into the seats. And now it was more of creating promotions to get eyes on the screen. So that was kind of an easy pivot for us. But the hard one was this girl who was raised in the South Bronx became a farmer's market manager. When I told my mom, she's like, "You're managing what? What do you know about farmers markets?" I'm like, "Mom, I love to go to farmers markets and we have the skill set. We can do this." So I became a certified for the state of New York, certified farmers market manager. And in the midst of COVID, we started managing a really large farmers market. And it definitely was a lot of fun. It was scary in the beginning, you know, having to be outside in the beginning of COVID, and a lot of pressure to make sure that we were keeping everyone safe and we had all of our procedures in place. But the silver lining is that I absolutely love it. And it's something that we will definitely keep as one of our core services. We actually started another farmers market in Yorktown, and definitely something that I plan to do more of in the coming years.
So is this farmer's market idea something you always knew about and was in the back of your head, or did you really make a change? It kind of goes to the next question that I'm going to pose to everyone is, as you made your pivots, where did you go to find new clients and new customers? So Sharice, I'm going to start with you and then move around.
So Marsha, I always loved attending farmers markets. I never really thought about managing a farmers market. I mean, we manage a lot of festivals and large events, and we have had farmers be a part of some of the larger community festivals that we've done, but it's not something that I ever really thought about. And the opportunity kind of presented itself to me, you know, with having an event business, 70% of my business was special events. So obviously with the shutdowns and everything else, to have 70% of your business just kind of, you know, wipe away and having to kind of come up with different solutions. So so it definitely was, I feel like, a godsend for us.
So it's interesting. So you had a diverse business, you did several things, but when you saw your business disappearing, or you know, you did what you had to do. You're a survivor. And
Yes.
that's what survivors and people that want to sustain and strengthen and succeed, coming back to the title of this event. That's what you all do. And Andy, I know at Red Oak, you also did a lot of things to survive and to succeed. So can you talk about where you found new opportunities and new customers?
You know, when the pandemic hit, as I said earlier, you know, our business as well probably dropped close to 70% as a result of the world shutting down. Now, we currently had at that time a pretty diverse client base of corporate, leisure, travel, weddings division, and so forth and so on. So my brother and I sat back and we actually did a deep analysis of each client, what they do for business, and how this pandemic may have affected them. As a result of that, and the fact that the mass transit in New York State basically shut down, we found that the hospitals, the medical industry, needed to continue to work, needed to continue to get to their facilities. So we reached out and we put together some shuttles for those people to pick up their nurses and doctors from a point certain to take them to their hospitals. From there, we found that while the hospitals and the facilities are open, how are the people going to get there to get their medical requirements attended to? So we reached out to various nursing homes, assisted living facilities, to see how we could help. The folks living there have to get somewhere. And again, with mass transit being shut down, we needed to see how we could help. We also partnered with Wegmans. As everyone knows, Wegmans is a huge presence here in Westchester County. And being an essential service, a grocery store, they needed to get their employees back and forth to training. So we got involved in a 6-month program with them, transporting their employees from Westchester County to their various other facilities for training. So just by analyzing our current client base and really looking at industry in general, we were able to find various pockets that we could reach out to and see where we could help.
So, and the other thing that Red Oak did very effectively, Andy, because I'm a big fan and I follow your business, is you really communicated your commitment to safety and to cleanliness and to being COVID safe. And I think for your customers and probably for your new customers as well, particularly healthcare, that rebranding also, so you not only changed your whole mission in a way of your organization, but you also stuck to your core as well and communicated about it in a different way.
Absolutely, absolutely. We were in the forefront, and unfortunately, I just met Donville through this meeting. Had I known him, we probably would have used him for the video we put together. We were one of the first in our sector to put together a video showing what protocols we have in place and how we clean the cars and what we do for our clients in this COVID world. So yeah, we were pretty pumped on getting that out there. Our client base now has a clear understanding of what we do, and it was all good.
That's great. Debbie, silver linings. How did you go to get new clients and new customers? By the way, if anyone listening has any questions, please put them in the chat box or in the Q&A box.
So like many of the other people on the panel, when COVID hit, my two biggest clients, one is a tour company, international travel company, and their business was at a dead stop. And my second biggest client that I did a ton of presentations training for is a big client in New York City, and they're involved in commerce development, and nobody was thinking about training while they were just trying to wrap their heads around what was going on in New York City during the pandemic, which, as we all know, for a time shut the city down. So I had to think about getting new clients, like many people here and in the gallery. And I went back to basics. When I started my business in 2006, I knew 0 people in business. And I built my business by networking and offering to speak anywhere anyone would have me. And as luck would have it, I had a phone call from Jamie O'Donnell, who's an ambassador for the BCW. And it was just, kismet. It was perfect timing. Talked to me about the BCW. It sounded like exactly what I was looking for. Talked to Linda, who all of you know is a superstar connector. And in the beginning of May, I joined the BCW. So that was tremendous for networking and opportunities to speak. And through those two things, I have new clients, one of whom is a huge international company. And also one other thing I want to say is offering to speak about, I offered to speak about how to give and nail a remote presentation. So I pivoted what I was speaking about and made myself hyper relevant because people didn't know how to present remotely. So those two things have helped me rebuild my business.
It's terrific, terrific. Charlotte, a little bit different, right? But how did you get the word out that you were open for new clients, new customers? Where did you go? Where did you go to find them?
So fortunately, that's never been a problem for us, and probably is not going to continue to be will continue to be not a problem for us going forward. One of the things that we did, though, was we started to expand some of our lines of business. We started a helpline for people in the general population, so it's open to anybody who wants to call and just have a connection. So there are different resources that we put out into the community. So getting customers for us is really not a challenge in general. Unfortunately, we have more business than we can manage. But one of the things that I think is important to note is that we've always had a challenge around workforce. We sit in a wonderful county that has a plethora of businesses and many medical businesses and healthcare businesses. What that means, there's a tremendous amount of competition for therapists, doctors, psychiatrists, nurses. And so getting clinicians to come and work for us, or really any kind of office administrative staff, is a challenge. And being able to tap into a remote workforce has helped us tremendously. We have clinicians who've moved to different parts of the country because of family relationships and whatnot. We've been able to retain them because they can work for us virtually. So having that resource across the country really has opened up a lot of access, additional access for us so that we can meet those needs of the community that are growing and growing all the time. So that's something that I don't think is unique to us, but it certainly has never been a resource like it is in other business sectors as it is for us now.
So that's a good pivot, and I'm going to ask Donville to address two things here. Where did you go to find new clients and customers? And then Donville, can you start the conversation or continue the conversation that Charlotte started about workforce and how your workforce adjusted to this new way of doing business?
Sure. So for us, the finding clients was really all about who needed the support the most. So for us, we sat down really early, and then we had to. We were looking at nothing on the calendar. We literally lost all of our event business and our video production business, all of it. We had some of our biggest shoots scheduled and they got canceled.
Mm-hmm.
We were like, what are we gonna do? So we had nothing to do. So we had to really sit down and brainstorm. And then it was sort of looking at the kind of clients we serve. We knew we didn't want to go into completely new territory because we'd be starting from ground zero. We had to start figuring out how we can help the clientele that we already know. We already work with businesses, we already work with nonprofits, and we knew that everyone in the world was having a problem. So it was about what are their challenges right now? How can we help them? And really, what we found was that especially for nonprofit organizations, that was always a big part of our clientele. They simply could not decide on, and some of the larger ones could, but most of the organizations couldn't simply decide we will have no event, because for a lot of them, the events generated a huge chunk of their annual revenue. So to simply not have an event meant that they were going to have to shut down because there was no way they can just simply not do something. So that was one way we already knew we were going to target. But in terms of us making sure that we were relevant and providing the best solution, we had to figure out how can we be differentiated from everyone else, or how can we differentiate ourselves from them trying to have a Zoom gala, or things of that nature. We wanted to present something to them that was much more polished and better than simply putting on an event in Zoom. Zoom is a great tool, of course, but we said our differentiation is going to be giving them an event that had the polish and the professionalism and the presentation style of their in-person event on virtual. So once we presented in that way, and we took the approach of Apple and the iPod. Back in the day when the iPod came out, I already had an MP3 player that had my hundreds of songs on it. And I was very happy with it. And I was telling people about it, but Apple came along, the iPod came out, and they made it seem like this was brand new and like it's a groundbreaking and a revolutionary experience. And I remember at the time I was saying to everyone, this is the same thing. I've always had this. I've had this for years. This is not new. And then what I realized after years passing getting into business, what they were smart about how they marketed the message and really branded it as a really fresh solution, but of course doing it easier and better than all of those platforms like the MP3 player I had. What I realized after a while was that it really only worked really well for people that were already technicians, but simple more simple individuals like my sister or my mother, they would never use that device. It's too complicated for them. And Apple did a good job of making it simple and then rebranding it. That's the approach we took with VertEvent Pro and virtual event production, which is really just live streaming video production. That's how we do it. From the side of the team, you know, scaling and scaling up over the months and working on the team, we really had to, especially at the beginning, really go focus on motivating them. I was very concerned about the team thinking that, you know, especially at the time, a lot of people were being laid off, a lot of people were losing jobs. I didn't want our team feeling like, you know, this could be us in a couple months looking for work. And so it was big on, even when I didn't see anything coming, I said, I'm keeping everyone, I'm still gonna pay everyone, I'm gonna do everything I can, even if I have to dip back into my own personal funds to keep everyone employed. But I was also really sold and bought in that of the opportunity. Because I saw the market, I saw the need, I saw what's there, and I wanted them to really buy into, we can multiply this and what we do. And just gratefully to be able to see after months that it more than doubled in what we previously did. It was amazing.
That's great. What a great story. And Donville, brag moment here. How much money have you helped not-for-profits raise since the pandemic started?
Oh yeah.
The other day. Let's brag for a moment.
So yeah, we've helped organizations over the last few months actually raised well over $7 million. So that's the big thing, and it's we've been, you know, grateful and happy to share it on working with organizations and nonprofits in this way.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Now, Andy, you also have employees, a significant number of employees, and you also have vehicles, 55, I believe. So
Sure.
Share with us what you've done to keep, pardon the pun, this all moving forward as best as you can.
Well, you know, as I said earlier, we had to take a two-prong approach. We had to look on the revenue side and see where we could find pockets of revenue and help those people out in the business world get to where they have to get to. The other prong is we had to reorganize our own company from within. We found, after analyzing what people do, how they did it, and when they did it, that there were a large number of redundancies within the organization. Unfortunately, and this is the first time in my career, I'm in this business 35 years, we had to lay off some people and streamline the operation, which we did. And the people that are here and remained are very much in tune and very excited with the challenges that my brother and I have presented to them, and they've handled them beautifully. In terms of keeping everybody working and keeping the business going forward, aside from the reorganization of the company, we had to go out and talk to all of our lenders, one of which quite proudly is Tompkins Mahopac Bank, who is my bank and has been my bank for about 15 years. And I'm super proud to say that they stepped up to the plate immediately and offered help in deferring payments for car loans and whatnot that we had. Other lenders subsequently followed suit and also stepped up to the plate. We had to contact our landlord and see what kind of help we can get from the landlord, who also very gracious, understood the problem, and stepped up to the plate with some relief. So between reorganization, getting relief from our vendors and our lenders, and looking for these other avenues, we were able to move the program forward. And one of the things I forgot to mention earlier is in our analysis and looking for other avenues, we went to the county and we said, okay, what can we do to help? What's out there? And surprisingly enough, there was a program called Food Insecurity, which is a county program which prepares meals for those who can't get out of their house for whatever the reason is. If it's COVID related, if it's medically related, whatever the problem is, if these folks are in need and can't get out, the county provides them with meals. And I'm proud to say we partnered with the county and we provided 76,000 meals over 6 months, which was fantastic.
Talk
So-
about a change in direction for a company. That's huge.
Logistics coordination.
Yep, that's great. That's great. Congratulations. Thank you. Sharice, you have a team also?
Yes.
Talk to us about workforce.
So for us, Marcia, I remember the beginning stages. I mean, when we first started running the Peekskill Farmers Market, our first market date was in April. So we literally were out in the midst of when COVID was really like, when the shutdowns began, that's kind of like when the market was kind of up and running, because a farmer's market is an essential business. It's food related. So, so for me, it was more so just the safety component. I mean, I wanted to make sure that we were doing everything possible to make sure that my team felt safe and that my team felt comfortable, that the farmers and the vendors that they were there, you know, that were going to be with us every week, that we had the proper spacing, that we had social distancing down, that we had the mask wearing and the signage and all of those pieces in place. And also for the people that were coming out to the farmers market, you know, we have a lot of seniors that come out to purchase, you know, their fresh produce. So it was more so just really making sure that we were doing everything proper. I did not want to hear from Governor Cuomo. I did not want to be on blast with Governor Cuomo shouting out anything happening. I didn't want any calls from contract tracers or anything of that sort. So it was really more so just the safety, making sure that we had all of our logistics in place and that everyone was safe. And at the end of the market, Marcia, we saw it was probably about 10,000 people throughout the whole season, and not obviously at once, but you know, just throughout the whole season. And it was I was really happy that we never got any calls, and you know, so that was really like a blessing, and I was really thankful for that.
I went to one of them, so it was really organized.
Thank you.
It was well done.
Very
Thanks.
well. So Sharice, brag moment for you. Tell us about the one call you did get. That was
The one call that I did get, I got a call from Dave Portnoy from Barstool Sports. My company is one of the recipients for the Barstool grant. So I am so thankful for that, because honestly, I mean, it's been a long 10 months, you know, and to qualify for that grant, you have to had shown that you had a successful business prior to COVID and that you kept your staff employed. And it was a long 10 months. And there were times where there really was not much happening. But, you know, I really used that time for education and just finding different ways to keep my team in place. So we unfortunately had to lay off one person, but everyone else is still in place. And so thankful for that grant, because it definitely will help with rent and everything else that small business owners have to bear in these crazy times. So I'm very thankful for that, Marcia.
Sharice, I think I've watched your video at least 10 times because it's very, very emotional and very real, very real. So Debbie, I'm going to turn to you. I know you're a solo entrepreneur, so I don't know that the workforce is that relevant, but Laura Powers has a great question here. What did each of you consider the most important trait that you have or that your team has that helped fuel your optimism and resilience during this incredibly challenging time? So Debbie, I'm going to start with you.
Well, I loved hearing what Donville said about encouraging his team and having that vision that they were really going to double their business. And that I'm telling you, I'm inspired just listening to that story. When you're a solopreneur, you know, I always say when a great thing happens to you, you're jumping around in your office by yourself. And when a bad thing happens, you're in your office tearing your hair out by yourself. Although being in that's what makes networking, again, so important, because you have people who are cheering you on and encouraging you. I'll say honestly, since I started my business and it happened again in this pandemic, you kind of can't have a plan B. And by plan B, what I mean is quitting or stopping what you do. You can pivot what you're doing, certainly, and you have to. But thinking about, you know, shutting it down or not doing it anymore, that was something that I'm telling you did not cross my mind. I knew that I was going to go on and be successful and it was going to be okay. And the one other thing I would say is having a network of colleagues that I love and respect and had great ideas
Yeah.
and suggestions, and like Jamie, like two of my colleagues who I said to them, well, I'm just going to reach out to my clients and say, I can help you with your presentations remotely, which I had always done. And they said, no, Debbie, you need to help people present remotely, which is what I of course
That's
ended up
great.
doing. So you have
That's
to be
great.
open to listening to people's suggestions, I think, too.
Absolutely. So that openness, that listening, that ability to reach out to your network was so important. Charlotte, what do you think was the most important trait that helped fuel your optimism and your resilience?
So I think one very important thing is passion, passion for the work. The people who work with us, whether it's somebody in our finance department or a clinician, everybody has a dedication to our cause and our values, and that goes an awfully long way. But even more important is flexibility. It's so simple and probably seems so basic, but being able to just change things and adapt to change in a flexible way, in an open way, has made all the difference for our staff. And I really appreciate what Debbie said about asking people. Communication has also been key in understanding the challenges both of our staff and our clients, and then being responsive to that. And so being flexible and being decisive, not waiting for something else to happen, because we all know things were happening every day different, a new rule, a new change. And so being able to adapt to that, keep moving, like Debbie said, quitting is not an option. We still had to do everything we had to do. We just had to do it in a different way. And so, communication, flexibility, and passion for the work, I think, are the keys to what's made us successful.
That's great. I'm going to move on to another question from our audience, from John Krause from Tompkins Mahopac Bank. Thoughts on how PPP and other government stimulus will help you, will help your clients, and your sense of 2021. Are you optimistic for recovery? So, Donville, I think I know the answer to the second part, but talk about the government help especially.
Yeah, I could tell you for the first one, in the first round, that was extremely helpful for us because, I was prepared to dive into as much of my personal funds as possible. Thankfully, I didn't have to. And I think one of the big parts of that was PPP. It helped to really, right at the beginning, even though we were already paying out, I knew eventually, unless we get a whole bunch of business, we were going to eventually run out. But that helped, just tremendously. So a second round would be really paramount, I think, and helping a lot of businesses overall, because for us, it was still quite a bit of things that needed to be done. But I know other businesses as well that are in the space and things of that nature, and having a help to be able to do that would be tremendous for sure.
Well, everybody remember, PPP round 2 is open. So remember that. So that's important. Andy, what about Red Oak?
We were lucky enough to get both an EIDL loan from the SBA as well as PPP loan on the first round. And what that did for us, me specifically, is it gave me peace of mind. It produced a cushion that allowed me to focus on all the other things we had to do, the reorganization, the other revenue streams and so forth. I didn't worry as much about how am I going to pay the bills because I had this pocket of money. So it did give me that ability to go out and do more of what I had to do. And I will say that the process was interesting at best, but as I said earlier, to have a bank like Tompkins be my bank, they made that process so easy and so streamlined. And I'm ready. When we're done with this, I'm doing round 2 with them. So that's where we're going next.
Great. Debbie, what about you? Either yourself or your clients? Did the PPP help? And what are you hearing from your clients and yourself about 2021? I know you're optimistic. You're that kind of person.
Yeah, I'm super optimistic about 2021 for sure. It felt, in fact, it was just New Year's Eve was super emotional for me, just being able to put 2020 in the rear view and go into 2021. I did not apply for PPP. I probably could have, and people encouraged me to. I'm a one-woman operation, and so I just didn't. But I want you to know that I heard from other colleagues in networking events how much PPP was helping them, and absolutely for a few of my clients, I know that PPP was a lifeline. And I want to tell everybody, I'm physically located in Fairfield, Connecticut. So I was hearing in a networking group that I am in here locally that banks, were really making it easier for people to apply for that.
That's great. Charlotte, nonprofits were included in the PPP, 501c3s. So was that helpful for you?
It was tremendously helpful. It gave us a sense of security that we could continue our operations and keep our folks employed, which was super important to me, especially thinking about giving some what we called hero pay to folks who needed to come in. We do have residential services that supervise people in their homes, and we do have places where we have to do crisis work that must be done in person. People who get injectable medications or need blood work, all of those things needed to continue. So to be able to keep those people well paid and even give them a little bit of hero pay was super helpful. I'm not as optimistic for 2021 as maybe some others in a business context, and that's because the need for our services is blossoming. There are some good things about the fact that some stigma has been erased from mental health issues, right? Because everybody now knows what it's like to go through extraordinary stressors and the effect that it can have on an individual and their families and their community. But it doesn't change the fact that we are going to have to do more with less. The resources on the state and federal level are obviously affected by the economy, but yet we have more people who are going to need our support. So that's going to be a challenge, and I'm concerned about how that will play out. What I think is going to be important is those people who can do it quickly, who can do it efficiently, and who have good quality outcomes are going to be successful. I feel, unfortunately, though, that some organizations are not going to fare well in the future.
Well, that's a very realistic and honest assessment, and we appreciate that, and we should think about that as we all move forward, and we all support our Westchester organizations and Westchester businesses. Sharice, government support, was that helpful, and your optimism for 2021?
So yes, I was very thankful for the PPP in the beginning stages because it was really, at that point, there was really nothing on the books. I mean, it came at the perfect timing. I was able to, to really help with keeping my staff on. And I'm with Debbie. When midnight came for 2021, I was just on top of the moon. I don't think I've ever been so excited for a new year to come in. I do think that we're going to have challenges this year. I don't think it's going to be an easy year, but I am very optimistic. I think that we as a business community have really just learned to do what we do, but just in a different way. And I love just seeing cars on the road and seeing everyone with their mask on and seeing everyone trying to do the right thing so that we can get out of this. So I am very optimistic. I'm excited about tomorrow and ready for the next chapter.
Great. Okay, I'm going to kind of do a lightning round here now, and you can choose. So what what changes did you make that you will keep as we emerge from the pandemic? And what has this experience taught you? So, Andy, I'm going to start with you.
What has this experience taught me has taught me to enjoy everything you have when you have it. Surprisingly enough, or not surprisingly enough, I actually had COVID back in March. So my immediate family had it. So we're fully understanding of all the challenges that produces. In terms of business, we are going to keep all of our COVID protocols in place. We are going to continue to keep things clean. We are going to continue to get the message out. Even though you get a vaccination, if you do get a vaccination, you still need to be prudent in following safety protocols. So those will be in place for a long time to come. I mean, we went out and got an electrostatic spraying gun, which is something more than just a regular spraying down of the cars. It's a hospital grade cleaning sanitization program. We have partitions in our cars. We put the video out explaining exactly what we do. So we're going to maintain all of that for the near future. I do, however, see that business will come back. I think we'll see it in the third quarter, most definitely in the fourth quarter. But I think people will start to go back once more and more of the country and the world is vaccinated. I think people will get a little more comfortable being in a communal work environment. So that's what we've done.
Thank you. So changes that you'll keep, you'll go back certainly to your core business, I'm sure, but then you have this whole other logistics coordination side of it. So that's positive.
Absolutely.
Charlotte, changes that you'll keep. What have you learned?
So for sure, it will be the telehealth. It will be the remote work. It has been something that we wanted to do for a long time, and it's been successful, challenging also, but successful in many respects. What I have learned, well, there's so much that we've learned, but I think I'll speak again about communication. I don't think you can take for granted, what's happening to your clients and your workforce. I think that it's so important to keep open channels of communication for ideas about innovation and responding to needs, but it's never been more important now while we're all isolated and we're all challenged in the way that we communicate. I think that I've learned that keeping in touch with people, even if it's your Zoom cocktail hour or social media. I mean, I was never a huge proponent of social media, but I'm very active on social media now because it's one of the only ways that I can socialize with so many people. So I think the appreciation for technology around communication has increased for me tremendously.
Great, thank you. Debbie and Donville and Charisse, just really quickly, what have you learned? What are you going to keep in 1 minute or less for each of you, because we have 2 minutes left, so 30 seconds.
What I'm going to keep is the explosion of networking and explosion of presenting to groups. I'm not going to lose that. And I think what I've learned is not only how resilient I am, but how resilient we all are, and that there is just no stopping humans who know what they want to do and are bound and determined to do it. So it reinforces my belief in humans.
Great. Charisse?
I just want to say gratitude first, Marsha. I just want to start with gratitude because so many people have been so helpful throughout last year. So I just want to say that is at the forefront for me. Don't take anything for granted. I will definitely keep our virtual event promotion. And I love farmers market. So I think both of those services are here to stay.
Great. You keep us healthy by doing that also. Donville?
Yes.
Yeah, and for us, I think what we're going to keep for sure is definitely this virtual event production management is going to stay, even as we go into in-person events. It's now going to be, I think, for the foreseeable future, a core part of every kind of event. And then secondly, I think for what we've learned and over the course is the importance of asking clients or asking the people for what is important to them. I think that was pivotal for us to really know all the different pieces that the nonprofits and our clients want, is by asking questions. And I think sometimes we as business owners are not as fast as we should be to act. So it's really a core part of that we continue to do now. Yeah.
Well, I have to say, talk about gratitude. We are extremely grateful to all of you. Very different businesses, very different approaches, very different organizations, but we so much appreciate everything you've done to keep the business community and the mental health community moving forward. And we appreciate everything that you do and your willingness to share with others how you've managed to succeed and strengthen and sustain. And it's the beginning of 2021. I think most of all, you give us your energy, you give us your optimism, and you gave everybody some really, really great ideas and food for thought. And talk about gratitude. We're grateful to Tompkins Mahopac Bank for being the sponsor of our Power Breakfast and for being such a great community partner. We wish you all good health. Continue to wear your masks, please. Let's all get through this together. So thank you all so very much. Enjoy.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.